Yo, it's Friday
Hello,
night. How
what
are
is
we?
up?
I had to wait to see if Davey was there or not. But why would he be? Because it's Friday. So it's time for other things, which means it's time for the other guys. Myself and John Zeno here again. How you doing, John?
Yeah, we don't need Davey. He took off his headphones. He can't even hear us right now. So it's our turn.
Yeah.
You see enough of Davey, you hear enough of him on your podcast apps and everything. Like, let Davey get a break, have him cook his dinner while we take over this twitch.tv/ up next podcast.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different week. We've got nothing Marvel to talk about this week. We've got a rare week off.
Yeah, they gave us a little week breather, even though I still turned on Disney Plus today and I still put on a Marvel show, I guess you could say. So they still got me
Yeah.
to tune in. They're smart with that. But yeah, nothing new that everybody's talking about. A lot of people upset on Twitter that they wanted their Wanda fix. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it today. But hey, next week we're gonna switch it up to the Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I can't wait.
Yeah, should be good. I've started to see TV spots for it here, and they're describing it as a six-part television event, which is different to how WandaVision was being promoted. It's being quite specific with what it is. I think people are underselling it a little bit, to be honest with you. I think that it is going to be big. People I spoke to saying they're not as hyped for it as WandaVision. They weren't that hyped for WandaVision. So,
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Nobody was hyped about WandaVision until like it started airing. So I think the same thing might happen here. I feel like the first episode is gonna be like a big one. They're gonna do something to get people hooked right away if they aren't already watching. I saw some clips online for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm not watching it. I'm going in like pretty much blind. I saw like the initial trailer. I know a little bit about the show, but for the most part, I'm going to be watching this like with fresh eyes. So I'm actually really excited to kind of dive into this. I loved Civil War. I loved uh the Winter Soldier, Captain America movie. So I feel like I'm just going to be right up my alley.
Yeah, I saw there was clips released. I'm also going in blind. I don't want to see them, to be honest with you. Marvel and Masters of misdirection. So anything they put out, you've got to take with a pinch of salt anyway, haven't you? You can't really assume that they're telling you what's really going on there. So I'm looking forward to it. Based on the quality of WandaVision, I think we spoke pretty much straight after watching the finale. I think after having like a couple of days to think about it, what a great series that was. Great to discuss it each week, pick it apart. Maybe we over theorized a little bit, and that may be why there was sort of a little bit of a feeling of having a letdown to it. But that was great and completely unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for anything Marvel. So
So, what have you been? I mean, we're here tonight to review Coming to America and Raya in The Last Dragon. We were working out how to pronounce that. Like, I was saying it weird beforehand. Who have we got in the Twitch room, though? We've got Ben, shout out, Chris, Elliot, Rishi, Fire Frank, Chris Leone, Matty B, shout out Matty B, PJ River. Did we see the making of WandaVision? I mean, I was going to say, John, what have you been watching this week? I know we've both watched this today. What did you think of the making of? Has anyone else in the room watched this?
yeah, that's exactly what I watched today. Actually, this week I wasn't able to watch as much as I do usually because my son was off and on home. So usually with that and the fact that I had to watch all these shows for Shot in the Dark, I didn't really get a chance to watch like my actual shows. So it's a good thing I got a head start last week, watching Raya and the Last Dragon in theaters, and I watched Coming to America. But I actually did end up watching both of those movies again this week. My son absolutely loved Raya and the Last Dragon, so we went ahead and ordered it on Disney Plus. And not only did they get our money in the theaters, but they got our $30 on premium, which I don't mind. It looks amazing at home with the 4K TV and everything. So I saw that. And then my mother, I was over there and she was she's a huge fan of Eddie Murphy and just Coming to America in general. So when she found out that like there's a sequel, she's like, I need to watch this. And she doesn't have Amazon Prime. So I went over there, hooked it up for her and everything. And I sat down and I watched it again. So yeah, both movies we're going to talk about today. I ended up watching twice.
You've got some in-depth analysis coming to us.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I'm a big fan of Eddie Murphy, so I could probably break down a lot of things. But as far as new content, so I did watch the Assemble documentary. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more in depth. I
Yeah, what did
started
you
to
think
watch.
of that? Let's start with that.
It was what we expected. I mean, in the back of my head, I'm like, are we gonna get Easter eggs for anything? But no, at this point, like, it's pretty cool to watch because you can tell like a lot of the season was shot during the pandemic because you see like them kind of filming it normal. Then you see at the end of it, everybody's wearing masks and everybody's going through protocol and everything. So it was kind of interesting to see like an actual show be shown. And actually, it's funny because I saw a behind the scene feature for Raya and the Last Dragon as well that showed how they finished it, and that being an animated movie literally showed every actor in their home, in their closet, with their own little microphone set up doing their voice for work. So it's pretty cool to see like all these movies being done in the last year. But I like it's a good special. I know we're gonna get one for Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, as well as Black Widow is going to get an assembled thing. But my favorite part was probably, I know we were talking a little bit about this, but the actual music aspect of it. I know it's like a couple there, the Lopez's, that were kind of told about the idea and how they had like this one jingle that they wanted to make sure they incorporated every song and the way that they kind of like got their ideas for the 60s and 70s and 80s and all that. That was like my favorite part of it. But I liked it.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was all right. It was a pretty standard making of, but it was cool to see how they worked within COVID protocol, and it didn't really focus on it too much. Like, it's not going to be a downer to watch this documentary in a few years because they're not going to be talking about COVID. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm happy they didn't really bring it up. That was pretty good. How they kept it so timely, so they don't have to worry about like, complaining about what they had to do and all that. No, they just kind of went through. I like how they kind of broke down every character, with the exception of Haywood, like the only one that didn't really get a spotlight, but they did go through Darcy and Agent Wu and everything. So I like how they kind of broke them all down.
I think because in hindsight, Haywood was by far the shittest character, and I don't think we'll see him again. He was an original character for the show. I think that's it. He's just out of the MCU now.
I do hope they bring the director back, Matt Shankman, just kind of hearing his his vision about how like they even had like an actual live audience there in the first couple episodes, and they actually kept it in theme. So they had them dress up like they were from the 50s. The seats were like the 50s. Everything was very like he wanted to keep everything authentic. I liked his vision. No pun intended. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. But yeah, he was great. They should definitely bring him back. I think in the future they can definitely like use him for other things. And I actually read somewhere that I guess one of the producers was like, I don't even know who Mephisto is, or didn't even know who it was before they started filming. So it's funny how like we were like having all these theories and like they themselves were like, we don't even know what you're talking about, but sure, we'll put it to consideration for next time.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'd love to see them bring people back. Marvel rarely bring back anyone to direct the movie unless sort of one of their franchise players, and WandaVision sort of feels like a one and done sort of series. So I don't think we'll see him back. Not like the Russo brothers, for instance, who got the Avengers based on doing the Captain America sequels. Chris Elliott brings up what was my favorite part of the documentary. Kristen Anderson and Robert Lopez. These two they are gods at writing music. He rightly brings up they wrote all the music for Frozen 2. They wrote all the music for Frozen. They co-created the Book of Mormon with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, which won a bunch of Tony Awards. They also created Avenue Q, which was the Puppet musical. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I do remember hearing about that. Wow, I had no idea they had so much work done.
Yeah, and Coco. They also did all the music for Coco. So they are literally the gods of composing at the minute. Like, if they're attached to something, then it's going to be good. They've got that golden touch about them. And hearing how they made this 4-note melody, which they incorporated into each theme for each era that they were in, that was really interesting. I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had no idea their body of work, but now that I know, that kind of makes sense why they would bring them onto a project like this. But yeah, they're wonderful. Just kind of see them talk about their passion and how they actually like broke down each era was really cool to see. The one thing that was kind of weird though, like Elizabeth Olsen, she mentioned like how she was going back to sitcoms from being with her sisters on Full House or kind of being there. She did mention one thing that I feel like I had to like fact check her on, but she was talking about how the battle scene that she had with Agatha in the air was like the first time that Marvel has done that. Like, does she mean like fully with people? Because I'm sure we've seen that in Iron Man. There's been plenty of like fight scenes in the sky. I'm thinking maybe she's talking about actual people, because the Iron Man ones had to be all CGI. But she made it seem like it was the first time there was ever like a fight scene in the sky. And I was like, I don't know about that, but Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
I mean, maybe they mean both Catherine Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen doing it themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, I like how David Portman brought up the fact that they wanted to make sure they used the ba-da-ba, because that's something that they use in Avenue Q.
Yeah,
that's like
they do.
a trope of
Avenue
theirs.
Q is incredible. They really are so talented. PJ said they're Disney gods. I watched the Book of Mormon, and I say they're Disney gods. It's a wonder that Disney wants to work with them after hearing about that. I'm sure there was executives would have seen it, and they're not kind to Disney in that or anyone. But it's one of the best musicals ever. It's incredible. I did get a chance to watch some new content this week. I watched The Mauritanian, the movie that Jodie Foster got the Golden Globe nod for. It was all right. It had a very interesting plot. The trailer sold it as much more exciting than I thought it was going to be, but a lot of it was pretty forgettable. It reminded me quite a lot of Zero Dark 30. It had a similar theme and the tones that it was going for, but it was also shot quite similar. There were some torture scenes which were pretty impressive in a way, in a sense that they really sold something that we'd not seen on screen before. But then you can make the argument that do we need to be shown such intense scenes to know that there were bad people who tortured people who turned out to be innocent for potential crimes. I can't really understand why Jodie Foster got nominated, if I'm honest. It didn't seem like she really did too much. She was good in it, but I mean, there was best supporting actresses and actress roles this year for me. I gave it a 74 out of 100. I'd recommend it if you get the chance to see it. It is pretty good. I rate it better than The Little Things. And one of the movies we're going to discuss today. I'll let you work out what that is. But yeah, that was all right. And I also rewatched Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I realized I haven't seen for years.
Oh, wow. Great movie.
That is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It genuinely is incredible. Are you a fan?
I did. I saw that way back when that came out. I mean, that was the era of like all those like Jason Segel movies. I was watching like pretty much anything that came out around the time. I Love You Man and just Role Models. Like I was like going to theaters almost like every month. I felt like to watch one of their movies.
Yeah, Jason Segel is incredible. Shout out him always. He's great in the Muppets as well. Another Disney thing. But Forgetting Sarah Marshall was so good. I'm on the fence of Russell Brand. Sometimes I really like him. Sometimes I absolutely despise him. I think he's a proper knobhead. But
does Jason Segel even like?
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like I haven't seen him in like a proper comedy in like forever. Is it just like that genre itself isn't as popular anymore? Because I feel like he was between him and Paul Rudd, like there was movies from them like all the time, and I feel like those type of movies don't really come out anymore unless I'm just missing them.
No, I think comedy definitely has hit the lull in the sense that we're not seeing a lot of the same kind of big comedies that we got in the late noughties and early tens, to be honest. Obviously, that street you had Superbad in there, Knocked Up, A 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yep.
My favorite, the sequel to this, Getting to the Greek. I was going to say Russell Brand, Out of Snow is the perfect role for him. But yeah, we're not really in that era of comedy anymore. That you can't really see that new brand of comedy stars coming up, to be honest with you. Like people who are exclusively in comedies. You've got a few people like Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, but even then they're making movies few far between.
The last one I can remember that was like really big was like This Is the End. Like I know they tried to like have other movies. Like what was the one movie that like was banned? Was it James Franco and an interview like that kind of came out and was a big deal. And when people actually watched it, nobody actually liked it. Like after that though, I feel like that was it. Like I don't remember anything really coming out that was that big. I also started to watch the South Park vaccination special. I didn't realize it was up on HBO Max. So I watched like the first 20 minutes of it. I'm already like loving it, but I think we'll say that for next week, right? To get everybody to watch it and kind of have a little South Park discussion.
Yeah. We'll give people time to watch that. On the subject of that, we might as well announce it. The Justice League is out, well, the Snyder Cut is out on Thursday. We probably are going to watch it on Thursday, but we've decided that not everyone's going to be dedicated enough to watch a 4-hour movie in 24 hours for us to review it with spoilers. So we're going to review Zack Snyder's Justice League the Friday afterward, which is going to be Friday the 26th. So 2 weeks from today, we'll be potentially picking up or shifting all over Zack Snyder's Justice League. I've already decided that I am going to take an intermission during it. It's a 4-hour long film.
Yeah, it's only fair, especially with them separating it to 6 chapters. There's definitely room to separate it. So for next week, we'll be talking about The Falcon and Winter Soldier, as well as the Tom Holland movie Cherry, which has been in theaters here for a couple of weeks, but as of today, it is now on Apple TV. Do you guys get Apple TV there as well? Like, is it something that... Okay, cool.
We get Apple TV, and it seems like they give away loads of free trials. I upgraded my phone. I got an iPhone, and I somehow ended up with 3 years of free Apple TV Plus. So it's fine for me. And there's an Apple TV Plus app on other things, like I use it on my Fire Stick. So that's how I watched Ted Lasso. Nice. In the room, shout out Bobby, he's joined in. Shout out Elijah Washington, that's a new name in the chat. Shout out PJR, on what platform is the Snyder Cut? So in the US, that's going to be on HBO Max. Not sure about the rest of the world, but relatively big news for the UK is that we're going to be getting it on Sky, and it'll be on Now TV, which is just a monthly subscription service like Netflix. On Thursday as well, it's the first HBO Max movie that we're getting day and date with America in a similar sort of package as HBO Max. So that's going to be, I imagine a lot of people are going to watch it, but still, we don't think everyone's going to watch it. I think it's going to be 4 hours plus, surely.
Yeah, it's 4 hours plus. Plus, it's a movie that like some people have seen the original one, so you might get this like, a whole bunch of people that like, okay, I don't want to watch this movie. It's just an extended version. They might not know like the full details of it. So I feel like a lot of people aren't really going to watch it, except the people that are like #release a Snyder Cut. Like those people are going to watch it like the day of. I'm going to try to watch it all on one day, that Thursday, but no promises. But I will definitely have it all reviewed and talked about by the following Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to watch the original beforehand?
I think I want to. Yeah, like I was actually. That's one movie that I did watch this week was Batman and Robin. I've been trying to watch the Batman movies like as Davey and Braden are reviewing them. I realized that Batman and Robin I haven't seen from beginning to end since it probably came out, because I'm like, I remember this movie in bits and pieces, but I don't remember like how it started and how it ended. So it's kind of cool to watch that really bad but fun movie. So I was gonna save Justice League to when they get up to it, but I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see what's so different about it. I want to like compare myself. So I probably will watch the original Justice League in the next couple of days or so, and then I'm not going to watch it the same day as the Snyder Cut, but I'll definitely watch it like a day or two before, just so I can be like, okay, yes, that's different, or yes, they changed that.
No, I think maybe Monday, probably watch it. We could do we could potentially ask and see if we could do a Justice League watch along Monday night instead of Raw, because arguably, what's worse? Genuinely, if you think about it, what would you rather watch, Raw or the original Justice League? I mean,
I probably would go with Raw.
No, I like Justice League though.
I probably would go with Raw, because at least with Justice League, I know what I'm gonna see, so I'm not gonna be happy and expect it. But I haven't, with the exception of Joker. I think I mentioned this before. With the exception of Joker, the last DC movie I've probably actually liked and rewatched since the theaters was the original Wonder Woman. I never went back and rewatched Dawn of Justice, Man of Steel, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam. Like, I didn't hate Shazam and I didn't hate Aquaman, but nothing about those movies made me want to go back and watch it. Suicide Squad, I think I might have rewatched, but the last one that I really, really, really loved was the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, that's fair enough. On the subject of worst movies, we had the actual Razzie nominations come out today. You sent me this.
Yep.
So the Razzies are the opposite of the Oscars, celebrating the absolute worst in film. The list of honored nominees include 365 Days, Absolute Proof, which I mean, I don't know what 365 Days is. Absolute Proof is the My Pillow guy trying to debate election fraud. You've got Robert Downey Jr.'s Doolittle, Fantasy Island, which was the Blumhouse horror movie, and Music, the Sia movie, which hasn't come out yet, which makes me think, are their screeners sent to the Razzies or are they using pirated copies? But yeah, they're the 5 films nominated for Worst Picture, and there's a few highlights through the nominees. What was the one you sent me?
For what was that?
The best worst couple. Was it you who sent me this?
No.
Oh,
I sent you the nominations, but I don't know about the worst couple.
So nominated for worst screen combo is Maria Bakalova and Rudy Giuliani from Borat, right subsequent movie film. Also, Adam Sandler and his grating simpleton voice from Hubie Halloween. I can imagine Thea may throw an almighty hissy fit on Twitter about this. She was very rightly called out for her handling of the production of this film, and the way she worked with autism charities, apparently, which turned out to be really poorly run organizations. Seems like she did no research, and she did not take it well on Twitter. So I can't imagine she's going to take this well at all, in any way, shape, or form. So that could be fun to watch out for in the next few days.
Yeah, that movie's not even out, right? Like I've seen like screenshots.
What I mean, they've got to have screeners. Yeah.
It's weird. So out of the 5 movies that are nominated for Worst Picture, the only one that I actually saw was Fantasy Island, and I absolutely hated it. That was one of those times where I had like the movie pass thing, so I think it was playing at the theater next to my job, and I was like, oh, Fantasy Island horror movie, hey, why not check it out? Yeah, I might as well. And I absolutely hated it. From the acting to the twist ending to everything about that movie was so bad. And I was a fan of the original show. And it's like, why would you take a show that's not really horror themed? I mean, I guess some people can squeeze some horror out of it and turn it into this like PG-13, like teen. It was so bad. Doolittle looked terrible. And that's sad because I like the original, not the Eddie Murphy one, but the original Doolittle I was a fan of. So I was kind of intrigued by that, but then I heard bad things about it. I think John Cena voices like a giraffe in it or something. I know he definitely does one of the voices. 365.
Robert Downey Jr. puts on a horrendous accent as well.
Yeah, I saw he was nominated for that, right?
Yeah, he was.
Oh God. And
search the Razzie nominations because there's
a lot of good awards on here.
And Hathaway's nominated for 2 one nomination for 2 films for how shit she was. Apparently.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig nominated for Worst Actress in Wonder Woman. Like that was, I didn't like that movie, but I don't think it's to the point where she deserves a Razzie. I don't think she was that bad.
No.
To me, she was pretty much, and after seeing Batman and Robin, she was pretty much the same thing that Selena Kyle was, the same thing that Pamela Isley was, as Uma Thurman's character. It was pretty much the same exact character, but not to the point where she should have got Worst Supporting Actress. But
no. We should have mentioned this when we were briefly talking about it, but the Snyder Cut actually leaked temporarily this week on HBO Max. If you selected Tom and Jerry, you were treated to the Snyder Cut instead. Apparently, 1 or 2 hours of it got out. None of it was recorded or filmed. There's been nothing posted apart from a couple of clips on Twitter, but nothing too spoilery. I hope that means people are being nice and not someone watched it for 2 hours and thought there was nothing worth spoiling in it. But that was a bit of a fuck up for them. It does seem like there's a bit of sabotage going on with the film. You've got the producers who are trying to shit talk it beforehand. It suddenly leaks for a bit. It seems a bit underhanded.
Yeah, imagine like watching a movie and be like, oh, this sucks. I want to watch Tom and Jerry. Just turn it off. Have you ever like been to a movie theater where they played the wrong movie or the wrong trailers? I remember hearing a story where it was some cartoon movie, some Disney movie, and then they started playing the trailer for like Child's Play, like the remake with Chucky, and all the kids started freaking out. Like I always thought the idea of that would be hilarious. Like my son would probably just laugh if that happened in a theater. But have you been to a theater where like they played the wrong movie or the movie would just like kind of shut off?
Oh, yeah, I've been in a cinema where it's fucked up and the film stopped or there's been some kind of problem, but I've never been where they've shown like that's during the film, but I've never been while I've never been to a film and seen something else.
I do remember one time when I was in my teens, I was watching Nickelodeon or Disney or something, and it was pretty late. I want to say it was like, for 11 o'clock, which was late for me as a teenager. and something must have happened, and they went ahead and switched the feed to an adult film. So I literally was watching, and I had no idea. I'm like, what is going on here? And later on, like, it kind of stuck. It stuck in my head, like this moment in my life. So a couple years later, I'm like, did that really happen? So I went ahead and Googled it, like once the internet was like prevalent. And actually, what's true? It was like some sort of disgruntled Nickelodeon employee on his last day went ahead and just switched the feed and all that. And I thought it was like hilarious. But yeah, I always find the idea of kind of like the whole like switcheroo thing to be kind of funny in some situations.
I mean, that's kind of fucked up, like putting it on a kid's channel.
Yeah.
Even if it is late at night, but what a fuck you to go out with.
Chris Ellie in the chat room says he heard a story of someone cutting off Toy Story 3 at the scene where the toys are in the furnace and pretended that was the ending. Oh my god.
That's horrendous. I did think when watching it though that was the end, and I kind of was like, well, they've got balls. They've got balls to do this. Just want to clarify, our top 5 Disney films later, they are just Disney classic animated movies. They are not, no Pixar involvement at all. Just, isn't it 59, I believe?
Yeah, the actual like Walt Disney like animated studios have made 59 movies. So some of them are CGI. Like they went ahead, I think after Home on the Range, they went ahead and just kind of stuck with CGI. But they are like the classic Walt Disney Studios films. I think starting with either it was Chicken Little or Bolts. One of those were like the first CGI ones, and they kind of stuck with the whole CGI ever since.
But yeah, so our top 5 list is just going to be Disney classic movies. Before we get into our reviews, just a couple of cool movie bits that I saw this week. Have you ever seen either The Lobster or The Killing of a Sacred Deer or The Favourite? Yeah, The Favourite won quite a few Oscars a couple of years ago.
I've
or
heard
anyone
of
in the
The
chat
Favourite,
room, have you seen any of those movies?
No, they seem pretty foreign to
The
me.
Lobster. The guy's name is Yorgos Lanthimos. He has an incredible style of film. It's not for everyone. I love. I haven't seen The Favourite. I tried to watch. I couldn't get into it. Maybe it wasn't the right mood. But The Lobster and the Killing of a Sacred Deer, I absolutely adore. I think I prefer Killing of a Sacred Deer a bit more. But his next movie, as I say, The Favourite won quite a few Oscars. His next movie is going to be called Poor Things, and it's linked to be starring Willem Dafoe and Emma Stone are linked to be starring in it. And it's a bit of a Frankenstein tale where someone brings the other back, where he brings her back to life. He's a scientist, to fall in love with him, I guess. And knowing his style, that's going to be bizarre. And have you seen The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe in it?
Yeah.
I mean, if we get anything close to that, I'm all for it. What did you think of The Lighthouse?
It was good. I mean, that was like one that was recommended for my old coworkers. And at first I was like, I wasn't like even sure about it because it was like a whole black and white aspect of it. I really know what I had in store. But yeah, it was really good. It was really good, honestly.
Now, obviously, I sent you a couple of links earlier. Did you see? Do you want to read the other film that we've got, or do you want me to take it, or just drop the name of it? Do you remember?
Cocaine Bear?
Yeah, Cocaine Bear.
So is this true? A film that will follow the real-life story of a bear who consumed 70 pounds of cocaine that was dropped by a smuggler. Wow. So this actually happened. Was this recent, this story?
I have no idea, but it is instantly the best film I've never seen. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller are producing it as well. The guys
from the Lego movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. It's going to be a horror comedy. I'm so fucking up to this. A poked up bear going around killing people, I imagine, is going to be the gist of it. I mean, that's going to be incredible.
I really hope it's not a CGI bear, but like somebody like in an actual bear costume. Just fuck it. Just go all out with it.
Like, just make it super B movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be so up for that. And also, Succession season 3 started filming in New York, which is absolutely incredible. I love Succession. Have you seen it, John?
I haven't. I think I want to say John and Way were talking about it on their Ask Away show. I'm pretty sure they were like kind of talking a little bit about it, and I kind of was intrigued by it.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's so good. There's a reason it won so many awards. It's fucking fantastic. They're the biggest group of, it's in an It's Almost Sunny way, where
Okay.
everyone's a dick, but it's not as outwardly a comedy. They all fuck each other over, but Succession is on point. So should we start with the best film this week, or should we start with the other one?
I think we should start with Coming to America because I think we'll go into Raya and then kind of transition into our top 5 Disney movies. So let's start with Coming to America. Let's go to Zamunda.
Yeah, if you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm a bit disappointed with this one. It's directed by Craig Brewer.
Quick question before we go into that: Did you watch the original? Like, were you a fan of the original Coming to America?
Love the original. Love the original.
Yeah, I was a huge Eddie Murphy fan. I watched everything: Harlem Nights, Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, 48 Hours. Like, if it had Eddie Murphy in it, I watched it, and I was way too young to be watching these movies.
Yeah,
but I absolutely loved them. So yeah, let's get into the sequel. Like, what, 30 something years later?
Yeah, 33 years later, which is one of the longest times ever for a sequel. I think the record's like 59 because I think Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 actually counts. I mean, some sequels that come out so long after the original, especially in comedy, really aren't that good. You've got like American Pie, Jay and Silent Bob, Dumb and Dumber. None of those, they all come back after at least 10 years, and none of them, the sequels, really match the hype. And I do think that is the case with this one. Before we get into our thoughts on it, as I say, it was directed by Craig Brewer, who recently got a lot of praise working with Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name.
I love that movie. That movie was great. Like, when I saw that and I heard the same team was going to work on what I thought was going to be an R-rated Coming to America, I was happy. But then come to find out it's not what I was hoping.
No, he also directed Hustle and Flow and Black Snake Moan, which are both like movies I enjoy as well. Ryan Coogler nearly directed this, which is an interesting fact I learned when looking up this one. The plot of the film: the African monarch Akeem, obviously played by Eddie Murphy, and his loyal steed Semi, played by Arsenio Hall. Well, Akeem learns he's got a long lost son back in the US, and he's got to return to America to meet his son, who's now the heir to his kingdom. And he tries to build a relationship with him, and it speaks to itself. It's less coming to America and more coming to Zamunda, to be fair. 33 years after the original, I watched it. It was fine. I mean, it hit some nostalgic notes, but it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. It wasn't a patch on the original. As you said, this one wasn't R-rated. I don't think it needed to be R-rated like the original and have like just gratuitous nudity or that, but objectively, you can't tell me this film wouldn't be funny with a few fucks thrown in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, at one point, like, Eddie Murphy's like, all these MFers, and I'm just like, all right, come on, it's not Eddie Murphy. But I understand his kid's on the set. His daughter played one of the daughters in the movie, so I understand why he wanted to take this PG-13 route. But I think it was a little bit too PG-13, like with the kids and everything. I don't know. It could have been a little bit more hard PG.
Yeah, I mean, the original is absolutely timeless, and it wasn't as bad that it's going to ruin the original. The original is always going to be there. It's not offensive in terms of like film quality or anything. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. My score for the film, I give it a 58 out of 100. It's just very middle of the road for me. Obviously, we'll dive into it a bit more, but what was your sort of like quick review and like score of it? And then we'll get into why you liked it and why you didn't.
I appreciated like a lot of the cameos, like some real like weird cameos, like the two twin rapping girls from the first movie were in it, and we had some like Morgan Freeman was a cool cameo, but some of the, like, they brought back a lot of the characters from the original. One of my favorite parts was probably the girl in the first one that kind of got in that trance of hopping on her leg and barking. They actually had her they showed her here still doing it 33 years later, so that was a nice callback. I know they tried to get Eric LaSalle back, but he said that he couldn't do it, that's the one thing that really upset me. Was there wasn't really a mention of Soul Glow. I think you heard the song at one point, but there was no like update. Like, did he get with Patrice, who was Lisa's sister? Like, was there any update on that? And there wasn't. They did focus on the son a little bit too much, and they weren't really in America for the like what two scenes, really two of the parts of the movie. So it should have been called going to Zamundo or going to like something
Yeah.
different. So that's like the
I
one thing
also
that
hate the coming to America. Like it just
yeah,
bugs me.
they could have just
So
literally called it
lazy.
like Back to America or going to Zamunda or something
Back to
different to kind of like
America. That's much
differentiate it.
better.
Yeah, why not? The characters are good. Like I'm a huge Tracy Morgan fan, so I loved his role, was amazing. I'm not a huge Leslie Jones fan, but I thought she was fantastic in this movie. Like her and Tracy Morgan were probably two of my favorite characters. Um, I feel like Arsenio Hall's role was just kind of there. I feel like they brought him in more to do like the Baba role, which is like the witch doctor, and some of the other characters that he was under makeup for. But I feel like the actual character of Semi didn't really do too much. I appreciate that I appreciate they kept the connection to Trading Places, because in the first one, you seen Trading Places?
No, I've not.
With Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. So in that movie, Dan Aykroyd works for a company called Duke and Duke, which is these two old rich men that basically they place a bet, saying, can we take Eddie Murphy's character, a poor man, and make him this rich character that Dan Aykroyd is playing, and vice versa. So at the end of the movie, those two characters become like broke. They lose all their money. So they actually appear in the first Coming to America as two homeless guys. If you remember, I think Eddie Murphy and his girlfriend were like walking, and he kind of gives a bag of money to these two like old men. That was Duke and Duke. So in this movie, Colin Jost played like the great grandson of Duke and Duke. So they kind of kept the connection to Trading Places. Like I wouldn't mind seeing like a Trading Places, like if the sequel to Trading Places was really like a sequel to Coming to America, and kind of have both Eddie Murphy's characters kind of interact with each other. I saw you shake your head when I mentioned Colin Jost. I didn't realize
this is two Colin Jost movies we've seen in a week. We saw Tom and Jerry last week, and now this. He does absolutely nothing for me at all. I don't.
Well, the good thing is he's
earlier about
not,
comedy stars. He does nothing.
The good thing is he's not in pretty much any other movie, so I don't think we're going to be seeing him hopefully anytime soon, unless he magically shows up on Falcon and the Winter Soldier next week.
He's actually in the Snyder Cut. He's also playing the Joker in another flashback.
Welcome to the Colin Jost.
So what was your score for this? Yeah.
So going on the Hogan scale, what did you give it, a 59?
I give it a 58.
58. Okay, I probably
makes a difference.
I probably liked it a little bit more than you, because I feel like some of the comedy did hit. Just overall wasn't like the best movie. If I scored the original one would probably be like 83. That's like a really great movie to me.
Oh yeah, so the original, as I say, is an all-time classic.
So that's what I probably rank 62. 62. Like, yeah, not like the worst movie that I've seen this year. Definitely better than Tom and Jerry, but it had its moments where I actually chuckled. It had some good callbacks I appreciated. The music was good. The acting was pretty good. I just wish they would have made it more about Eddie Murphy and like his character, opposed to like this is like Coming to America, the next generation, basically.
Yeah, so that makes it our third best movie that we've reviewed. We've got it higher than The Little Things and Tom and Jerry. There were some good parts. I don't just want to like shit on it. One good, I mean, it was kind of a negative, I guess, but you didn't need to watch the original to watch this. They gave you enough flashbacks. The movie stood on its own, told its own story. Whether you like it or not, I guess that's something to praise it for. It did decide to go with the story of focusing on the son. I thought the scene, spoilers, as per usual, when we do our reviews, the scene of James Earl Jones. Firstly, great to see James Earl Jones on screen. I think he was 88, 89 when he filmed this.
Did you know that he wasn't actually there? So because he's gotten so, I guess he's not sick, but I guess to the point where he didn't want to travel. So they actually filmed his scene separately. So he was never on screen at all with any of the characters. So it was a pretty good transition they did for that. But yeah, for somebody to have a funeral while they're still alive was pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
That was hilarious. And then for him to actually die afterwards in the coffin and then to be followed by En Vogue and Salt and Pepper coming out was
what a king.
That was hilarious.
Gladys Knight, I had a lot of good singers.
Gladys Knight was there. Rick Ross played one of the soldiers in the background.
Well, hey, if you're gonna use my palace, to film your scenes, then you better put me in the movie. That's actually Rick Ross's house, which is crazy, in Atlanta, Georgia.
What a baller! Ross, like the boss, isn't it? Wesley Snipes, like the guy he played the soldier for, he looked like he was
Oh my
having the
god,
best time. He was so good in this film.
The scenes with his army, next Doria, which is a hilarious name by the way, but the scenes with like his army training probably like were the parts that really made me laugh the most. It's very like Dave Chappelle, Key and Peele type of comedy. Like you see these guys working out and they're like they all got shake weights on, and you see them kind of training with the Dance Dance Revolution. Like that's just little things like that. Like it's like real subtle, like old school, like airplane Naked Gun type of comedy where it's kind of happening in the background, but it's just so funny. Like it's not in your face funny. But Wesley Snipes is great. Just every time he walked to the scene, and kind of just with his little walk and everything, and his son who wasn't good enough for the daughter, and then Tiana Taylor playing his daughter. Like everything about Wesley Snipes' character was pretty good. He pretty much knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he was such a highlight for me. I didn't mind Leslie Jones, as you say. You said you're not really a fan of her. I'm not really a fan of her either, but she wasn't that bad in this film. It kind of made sense for her character to be quite brash, but she wasn't so brash that she was obnoxious. I find she always gets cast in these obnoxious roles, and it's a bit one note. It's a shame because again, you know, if you stick around that long, you've got to be talented. But just, I don't want to see that same shit.
Did you like Ghostbusters? Did you like the Ghostbusters movie when they came out with all that like negativity about it?
No, I didn't. But I didn't dislike it because it was for women. I disliked it because it was a bad movie. Like
exactly. That's what I try to tell people. And the first thing they throw in my face is, "Oh, you just don't like it. It was all females." Like, no, the movie itself just sucked. I don't care if it was all males, all animals. Like, just the movie itself just didn't do anything for me.
I think you can make a great movie, a great Ghostbusters movie with those four women. It's just that was not the right film to make. The guy made it, Paul Feig, from Bridesmaids. I feel like he didn't quite know what he wanted to do with it. I would have liked someone to, because they're all really funny women. Like, why have you ruined them? You know. Yeah. But yeah, I do think there was being against it didn't really help it either. But yeah, I thought that was fine. But Leslie Jones, as I say, I don't often like her that. I don't really often like her. But yeah, she was all right in this. It was kind of weird the way Akeem has a son. She got him really drunk because she knew he was a king. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. We'll ignore that. And I also thought, obviously, I said Ryan Coogler nearly directed this film. There were so many like references to Wakanda. Like they took so much from that for Zamunda in this film.
Hey, I mean, you can even say the Black.
How influential that film is.
But some people might say that the Black Panther movie took a lot from the original Coming to America. I mean, there was a lot of like set designs or just fighting scenes from Coming to America that maybe it inspired Ryan Coogler. You never know. It could be one of those things where like they both kind of kept borrowing from each other.
The Ryan Coogler Coming to America, I really want to see. Like that is a movie I want to see.
When Black Panther first came out, they took the Black Panther movie and they kind of cut it with Coming to America, because you know the scenes from the original one where him and Arsenio Hall are fighting, and they had the whole Samuel L. Jackson thing and the whole like fighting aspect of it. So they took like scenes from Coming to America and kind of edited it with Black Panther, which is pretty interesting.
I mean, they nearly had Samuel L. Jackson come back because obviously he plays the guy who sticks up the McDowells. I did think the McDowell's callback in this to the original was hilarious as well. Some of the names of the Bergs in the background was good, but Samuel L. Jackson couldn't come back for it.
Yeah, they got Louis Anderson back, but they couldn't get Samuel L. Jackson, unfortunately.
My actual favorite scene we've not discussed is the barbershop scene. That's the most that the film felt like the original in terms of charm and spirit and humor. And I wish there was a bit more of that in the rest of the film, which I'd say just felt a bit flat for me. I'd say it didn't ruin it, but it didn't ruin the original when I say it. But I don't feel this needed to be made. It's just, I'm never going to come back to it. I'm glad it's on a streaming platform. And the strange part was it was meant to be released theatrically. And I could see it getting bombed if it released theatrically. I mean, by critics.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like a good thing, I guess, for the movie itself. Like, you know, it's not going to get the same like negativity that would have, you know, if it came out in theaters. There's no real like, unless Amazon releases, there's no real way of knowing how well it did. Do you think that, let's just say it does make a lot of money for Amazon, can you see them possibly making a sequel to this? Where it's just basically totally based on like actually his son opposed to Eddie Murphy?
Well, Eddie Murphy has actually said if he's alive in 16 years, he wants to make a third movie. He said that after this come out. So you never know. So we may actually get that Ryan Coogler Coming to America movie.
Coming Free America?
Coming Free America. I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past him, to be honest with you.
Is there, on the note of Coming to America, is there like any old comedies like from the 80s or even 90s that you wouldn't mind seeing a sequel, even if it's like 20, 30 years later?
Well, I guess Ghostbusters, because we didn't really get a sequel with the most recent movie we had. So we are getting a sequel to that when it eventually comes out.
Whenever it comes out, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, if he was healthy and Robert Zemeckis was behind it, then Back to the Future, just because I'm a fan. But it would only be on the condition that Zemeckis, Michael J. Fox, and Christopher Lloyd signed off on it. Other than that, no. Like as I said earlier, I don't think comedy sequels many years after are good. There's no real reason to go back to it. They live perfectly as they are, and you're lucky if you don't ruin it. And to be honest with you, most of them don't. The Dumb and Dumber sequel was shit, but that doesn't take away how funny Dumb and Dumber is. But it's just, it makes you wonder, why is there really that much money in it? Are people really clamoring to see if they can? Because it's normally a long way. If you're saying comedies from the 80s and 90s, it's like 20, 30 years ago. So do we really want to see what those characters are like 20, 30 years later? They're probably fucking boring, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you mentioned Dumb and Dumber. I wouldn't mind seeing like a new Ace Ventura movie or even The Mask. I know we're supposed to get a sequel. I'm not talking about the Son of the Mask, but an actual sequel to The Mask. I still remember when I bought The Mask, like the original VHS tape, there was a little pamphlet in there that said, send a letter here to become an extra in The Mask too. And who knows whatever happened with that. But I wouldn't mind seeing Jim Carrey kind of maybe bring one of his iconic roles back. I know Eddie Murphy was supposed to do Beverly Hills 4, and I think Netflix kind of took over that. I'm thinking of Michael Myers. Maybe I feel like he hasn't really done anything lately. I wouldn't mind a Wayne's World 3 or even like Austin Powers. Austin Powers is one that surprises me they haven't done a sequel to.
Well, we got a third Bill and Ted, and that didn't really do anything. And we're in the middle of people loving Keanu Reeves. We're not in the middle of people loving Mike Myers. Do you know what I mean? So, I can't really see how successful that would go. Although I do think Austin Powers, actually, now you mention it, is something you could go back to, because I would like to see them spoof the super serious style Born Identity kind of spy like films that we do now. But I think we get that kind of feel from the Kingsman movies in a way. That's pretty, that's sort of a modern take on classic spy espionage thrillers. So, and Kingsman's boss. So I'm looking forward to that. In the chat, we've got Ben says Pluto Nash 2, White Men Can't Jump 2. He says still waiting for Beverly Hills Cop 4. That is the thing that's happening. So
Bobby says 4 Amigos. I think he's being the sequel to 3 Amigos. Ever seen 3 Amigos? With the I don't know if we're gonna get that, but I do remember hearing a rumor that they're supposed to make a sequel to Twins with Arnold and Danny and actually call it Triplets. And the third triplet was actually supposed to be Eddie Murphy. So I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but that was rumored at one point. Triplets. So yeah, dude, where's my car too? From B Detroit.
I mean, if we're talking sort of modern comedies, I would still love to see Pineapple Express too. Seth Rogen said that the scene in This Is the End where they make Pineapple Express 2 is basically the idea that he had if they were going to make it, but he doesn't really want to go back and make a sequel if it's not very good. So that was his way of putting it out. But Dude, Where's My Car 2, that would be hilarious because I could see those characters never changing. But we had American Pie, which was a super successful late 90s noughties comedy. That come back with American Reunion, and that was pretty shit at that.
And they're still making like direct to home now sequels or spinoffs to this day. I think there's like 8 or 9 different American Pie movies now. It's like the whole like Bandcamp series.
Yeah, loads went straight to DVD. So there's a couple that are funny, but that's me basing my opinion of when I saw them when I was like 16. So gonna guess they don't hold up quite as well now.
No.
A Shaun of the Dead sequel could work. Ben says we're getting another sister act. I mean, if Whoopi Goldberg's involved, sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm fine. There's a new American Pie on Netflix apparently. Well,
yeah, it's probably one of those
well,
Bandcamp movies.
Is there anything more to add on Coming to America? From you, John?
Not really. I mean, I do like that there's like every platform. I mean, here in the States, at least every platform kind of has like their own like exclusives. Like nobody was really watching Amazon Prime. Now they're watching because they're coming to America. And then, you know, you got HBO Max with its exclusives, and Netflix has exclusives. I saw a recent poll that like says like, what's your favorite like streaming platform right now? Like the one that you wouldn't like, you couldn't do without. And Netflix was like almost dead last. Like I feel like so many people now are like Disney Plus was number one. And then you had like HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and then it was like Netflix was like almost one of the last ones, like with Hulu.
Yeah.
I feel like Netflix is really like falling off. Like when's the last time Netflix has made like a direct to Netflix film that was like huge? Like they had a couple movies. They had the one with Will Smith had a movie there right a couple years ago, and this movies here or there,
but that shit in bed with David A. It was like the
Light or
film. Right, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it tried to tell like a story about racism using orcs. And you've got
you've had movies.
Well.
You've had movies by like Mark Wahlberg and like Chris Hemsworth that just don't really like. I see them on there, but nobody's like talking about them. They're not like these really big movies at all. So I feel like Netflix hasn't really had like that you must see movie in a while.
There's a Netflix thing about the films. They haven't really had any that have been fantastic. Roma got some critical acclaim. The Peter Troy says that Birdcage movie was big. Oh shit!
I think he means Bird Box with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was a pretty good big movie when it came out. Yeah, that's probably the last one I remember like where everybody was talking about.
Yeah,
but Netflix is mostly like for their series and documentaries. Oh yeah,
they throw money at these. This upcoming rock movie that they're putting out is crazy expensive. One of the most expensive movies of all time. They've got Zack Snyder's zombie movie coming out in May.
Army of the Dead, yeah.
Yeah, but I think compared to Amazon Prime, which has had things like The Big Sick, which was very critically acclaimed and hilarious too, they are sort of, and HBO Max, we know they're associated with Warner Brothers. We know that there's quality associated with these brands, whereas Netflix had the chance to prove that they had the quality with films. And I think people have now just sort of thought, well, they're the TV company. Like, they're good for TV shows, but maybe not necessarily films.
But imagine Netflix was able to like work out a deal with like MGM and get like No Time to Die on there, or even like Universal and Fast and Furious 9, like one of those big movies. If they were able to get the rights to that exclusively to Netflix, that would be humongous for them.
It would, but I don't know if the studios would sell. But yeah, you'd think Netflix would have the money to throw at something, but they obviously have their own plans and reasons to why they make their own movies and throw humongous budgets at them rather than try and buy movies now, which they could. I assume they've managed to keep production running on all of their films. Nothing's off schedule. But there's so many films that they buy in for distribution rights internationally as well. Yeah, there's always stuff updating each day that they're probably still making some money from it. Because there was that rumor they never made money for years and weren't going to. But surely they have to now. You can't be making a $300 million rock movie and not be making money. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, I've been a supporter of Netflix way back when I was getting DVDs sent to the house. Like before they were streaming, there was just literally like DVDs. And I went through so many movies and shows with the whole like Netflix, and you had to put movies in your queue, and then some movies were not available. You had to wait for it. Like I've been with Netflix since day one. And even Blockbuster, I think, had on one of their last few years, they're trying to do the same formula as Netflix, where you could kind of rent movies from their website and kind of mail them back and all this. But yeah, that was like the original Netflix. And then eventually they started doing streaming. At first it was like only some movies that you could stream, and then now obviously it's a giant now. And Hackman says he still has some of those red Netflix envelopes. I think I have some laying around still from those days. Speaking of Netflix, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, B. Detroit says Eddie did Dolomite is my name on Netflix. Obviously, we said he directed this Coming to America. That did actually get some critical and award love last year, obviously.
Yeah, I forgot that was on Netflix, honestly.
Yeah, there's nothing really this year which for Netflix doing it in the way Dolomite did. I think there was another film as well which got quite a bit the Two Popes. Those two movies were quite sort of showered with adoration last year, and nothing since then I can think of.
So Ben in the chat room brought up something that Ben brought up the fact that Netflix is actually stopping people from sharing their passwords now, which is going to be pretty big for them. Because I know a lot of people that don't pay for Netflix but have been using it. So if they actually go through with this, it might be pretty bad for Netflix. I feel like a lot of people are going to stop. They're not going to pay for Netflix, and everybody's going to stop using it.
Well, with coming to America, I'd say it's worth a watch if you've got Prime. There's definitely worse ways you can spend your time, but if you had to pay $24.99 for it, I'm not so sure I'd recommend it. But if you get a free trial or you pay a month of Amazon Prime, why not? Probably get a laugh out of it. I would say it got a few laughs from me. 58 out of 100. It's not the worst film. I'm probably not going to watch it again.
All right. You want to go to the Magical Kingdom? You want to go down the Disney route?
I absolutely do. Raya and the Last Dragon. What a fucking film. I'll just run through the plot and who's in it first. So a lot of directors on this, which was quite strange when I looked it up. So Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada directed it. Don Hall has worked for Disney before. He did 2011's Winnie the Pooh, Big Hero 6, and he co-directed Moana. Now, Carlos Lopez Estrada is really exciting. He directed a movie called Blind Spotting, which starred Daveed Diggs. You may know from Hamilton. That is a fucking incredible movie. And this is his first actual directorial offering since, I believe, apart from like a short film. So they're co-directors on this. But then it's also co-directed by another guy, Paul Briggs, who's worked for Walt Disney Animation Studios for a while. So a lot of chefs in the kitchen on this one, but all pretty capable chefs, to be honest. Started predominantly because you've got Alan Tudyk in there. Otherwise, pretty much entirely Asian cast. Kelly Marie Tran starring as Raya. Awkwafina as Sisu the Dragon. You've got Gemma Chan, Benedict Wong, Daniel Day Kim, Sandra Oh. It's fantastic cast. The plot is basically in the fantasy world of Kumandra. Humans and dragons have lived together in harmony for a long time. And then there's these sinister monsters which kind of look like Gengar from Pokemon. And they're called the Droon. And the dragons sacrifice themselves to save all of us and humanity. And now 500 years later, the baddies are back. And it's up to one lone warrior, Raya, to track down the last dragon and stop the baddies. And what a film it is. We're going to get into some spoilers. I don't really think we're going to spoil it too heavily, but if you really want to know nothing, don't, but absolutely go and pay the money to watch this movie. It is fantastic. John, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Like I said on the top of the show, I brought my son to see this in the theaters. It was the first movie that I saw with him since Onward, which is another Disney movie. So once they announced this, I'm like, listen, we're going to go. And at first he was like, we can just watch it at home. I'm like, yeah, but something about this movie just feels like we should see it in the theater. So we saw it. And then like the next day, he's like, I love that movie. Can you order it? And I was like, you know what? $30. Sure. We'll order it and we'll watch it again at home. And I loved it. It was beautiful. I think I said this to you. It reminded me of like Mad Max meets Mulan. It's like, it's really like just that atmosphere, like all the different lands, like it was like Fang and Heart, all the different body parts representing like one of the lands, and each one kind of having its own little genre and theme to it. Was absolutely great. Like, I'll be honest with you, like the ending, it really got to me. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it really got to me. Like, I got emotional with it, and especially with like the pandemic and people just kind of not being able to see people, and that was kind of like pretty much like what it kind of came to, is being able to see somebody again. Like, that really hit me, like to the point where I was like, wow, this movie is really good. And the cast is wonderful. I'm really happy for Kelly Marie Tran. She's the person I got all this shit for being Rose in Star Wars Last Jedi, to the point where she just like was going to quit Hollywood. Like, she was off social media and everything. So for her to get this big opportunity with another Disney movie is really big for her. And I think she knocked it out the park. Awkwafina was fantastic. It's Sisu the Dragon. It's real like sarcastic, funny dragon. But yeah, everybody was really great in this movie. My son loved it. I thought he was going to like it because
I guess the little guy review.
I guess you could say it's more of like, you know, targeted towards like girls, but he loved Moana. You know, he loved Frozen. So it's like, hey, you know, if anybody can enjoy it, it's a wonderful movie. There's no music though. It's not like a Disney movie, because some of the movies have music, like Frozen and Moana, some of them don't. This had zero music. It was more of like I guess Big Hero 6 or Wreck-It Ralph, where it's no music, just animation.
Yeah.
But I loved everything about this movie. I think it was wonderful. All the characters are great. All the voice acting was great. Like I love this movie.
I think visually this might be the best Disney movie of all time. Genuinely, the animation was incredible. I find Pixar movies are very stylized, and all of their humans kind of look a bit different. They're not meant to look sort of real. Whereas this, it wasn't just the landscapes and the environments, the close-up scenes of all the different places, like Fan Art, as you say. But the people themselves, they look very real. It was fantastically done. It was beautiful animation. It added so much, so much. I think apart from another film, which we'll get into later, this is maybe my favorite of the new era of Disney movies. So since they have switched to this CGI era and had a bit of a resurgence, so talking since Frozen, really, Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia, I think it's a shame that it's released on Disney Plus because I think this would make so much money based on word of mouth. It's just such a great film. As you mentioned, Awkwafina, I think she's my favorite part about the film. I didn't know the cast going in. Hadn't seen any trailers. I just knew new Disney animation. I'm sold. As soon as I heard the voice of the dragon was Awkwafina, she's got such a distinct voice. I popped so hard. It was great. I'll watch her in anything, to be honest with you. She added emotion. She was warm. She was funny. She really made Sisu a real thing and so fleshed out as a character. But so did Kelly Marie Tran, as you say. It is great for her that she's back in the Disney fold. They are bringing Rose back as well for a cartoon, I think, or maybe a Lego thing that might have already happened. But she is coming back to do Star Wars things. She didn't deserve all the shit that she got, and she is great as Raya. Raya, she's kind of a badass loner, but she's not just a paint by numbers sort of badass loner. And because Disney have kind of got a formula, haven't they? You've got a heroine. They run into a problem. They go on a journey. There's a fun little sidekick that's probably not human. They go on a journey of discovery. They have a problem. They get over it. They learn something new. But they still, that Disney magic, it really is tangible. And they managed to make this feel so rich. And as you say, it's maybe not one for younger kids. There's quite a lot of action in this. There's things getting shot in this film. It's definitely one for the older kids. But Disney are just on an incredible roll at the minute. We're not going to be talking Pixar films later, but how do you think this compares to the more recent crop of Disney movies we've had come out?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, like it's a shame that it's coming out during a time where it's not going to get as much fanfare or just box office praise at all because not enough people even know about it or can see it. Same thing happened with Onward and Soul. Like those are movies that I loved, and I feel like just they're not getting the same talk that a lot of these other movies did because nobody's can watch them or not as many people is watching them. But I thought it was fantastic, just like you said, like just everything about it. Like not just like the humans, but like just like the atmosphere and just like the rain and the water. The way everything was used in this movie was so good. And like Kelly Marie's character of Raya, like I feel like she wasn't trying to be Raya. I feel like the Raya character was written for her. Like I feel like she's embodying this actual character, like the way she's coming off with the emotion and everything. I just feel like a lot of people need to watch this movie. Like actually, my son likes it so much that we got a little Sisu Funko Pop. See, so he that's like the ultimate praise from the little guy. Whenever he wants to get a Funko Pop of one of the characters from the movie, it's like, all right, he really likes it. Yeah, $30. Like I recommend anybody to get it if you like Disney or just a great movie in general. Like it's just really emotional. Everything about it. The ending was great. I don't want to ruin it too much, but watch it. Like the characters in it are wonderful. My favorite character in the movie is probably the little girl. I think her name was Noni. She was hilarious. The little thieving girl with 3 monkeys running around.
Yeah, she's great.
That was my favorite part. That was great.
The other little kid in it as well, Boone. He owns the Shrimp Emporium. He runs around like a little box. Yeah. He's so good. He's fantastic. We've bigged up Kelly Marie Tran and Awkwafina, but I also want to shout out Gemma Chan as well. I first encountered her here. She was on a TV show called Humans, which is really good. Sci-fi show about sort of synthetic AI coming to life if you can track it down. She's great in that. So see her picking up some more big Hollywood roles, that's fantastic. We actually have quite a bit of MCU and, well, obviously Disney people in this film. Benedict Wong is obviously in Doctor Strange. Awkwafina's going to be in Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. And Gemma Chan is going to be in Eternals. Obviously, Kelly was in Star Wars, which is another Disney property. I mean, when they like you, they really like you. That, you know, they want to keep you employed. They want to put food on your table.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with the Assembled documentary. Even like Paul Bettany was talking about how like he was brought in by Jon Favreau because they needed somebody with no personality, basically. And he was like, all right, I got this role. And he thought that was going to be like a one. He thought it was going to be a one-off. Yeah, and he thought it was going to be a one-off. And look what it turned into. Like, yeah, Disney, once they like you, they'll use you, as much as they can.
Yeah. I mean, what's your score for this film? Before we get into like a couple of little more bits about it, but what would you give this as a score?
Yeah, I don't want to go too high because I feel like I like it, but there's so many other, like, I'm trying to like think of other Disney movies and how I would rate them. I'm probably gonna have to go with like a 79. Sounds right to me. Like just on the borderline of 80. 79 is probably what I'm gonna go with.
I'm gonna go higher. I am that dork that has a spreadsheet with his rankings. So I did look up to see how I sort of rated it against everything else, and I landed on an 87 out of 100.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this film. It was great. It absolutely flew by. I can't recommend it enough. I did watch via alternative means just because it's hard times at the moment. However, it won't be when it comes out on 4K disc. And 4K disc is better than the 4K streaming. So this is one I'm absolutely going to buy on 4K. I saw Soul is coming out on 4K pretty soon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that's not one which I would buy to watch on 4K disc, but this absolutely is one I'm going to do. So it's so good that it will look beautiful on my TV. Chris Elliott, going back to the WandaVision documentary, Chris Elliott says, Bettany says he got that role from doing Wimbledon. And to be honest, I think that whole interview was a piss take. Surely he wasn't serious.
Hey, you never know.
Bobby says he wishes Raya was a series. He could easily watch 60 episodes of it. I agree. I said to you earlier, John, this is a world I can stay in forever. It felt so real. I wouldn't mind a sequel, which is something I haven't said about a Disney film for a long time. They normally just seem to come along without anyone really asking for them, or much later. They announced Frozen 2 right after that. Got huge after Frozen 1, but Wreck-It Ralph 2 came much later. I would like them to announce something. But we did get confirmation that Raya does count as a Disney princess now.
Oh, yeah.
She's the 13th Disney princess. So she's a princess. You've got to imagine you're going to get a ride soon. You're going to get
that's what I was going to
TV show or a sequel.
That's what I was going to say. I hope that this movie does get like a lot of like just love for it, because I could see it definitely being a part of like Animal Kingdom or something in Disney World. Like they could definitely do something with this movie if they really wanted to.
Yeah. Pretty cool fact about this film. Obviously, out of how many Disney animated classics are there?
This would be 59. The first one was Snow White, and this is the last one, number 59.
So out of 59, this is the 9th, not to be based off of any already existing work. After The Lion King, Dinosaur, Lilo and Stitch, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, The Wild, Bolt, and Zootopia. So pretty much everything else. So this is truly an original concept that they've come up with, and they've knocked it out of the park. I'll be putting this over enough room. I know a few people in the room have seen it. Bobby says the film was gorgeous. Chris Elliott says it's a beautiful movie. If you saw it, let us know what you think. We're going to be sticking around. Have you got any final thoughts on Raya and the Last Dragon, apart from it's fucking great. Go and watch it now.
No, I just love watching Disney animation. I think what's the next big Disney movie? Is it Luca? No, that's Pixar, right? Is that gonna be the next one that they do?
Yeah, that would be the next one.
And, and I think I saw the next one that Disney Studios is doing is one called Encanto. I think that comes out. That's the 60th movie. I want to say that comes out next year. I know there's only like some images of it, but nothing really is well known about it, which I actually like. I like when they don't reveal too much about it. Just kind of release it and let us love it for what it is.
Yeah, Encanto, you're right. Comes out November 24th this year, apparently.
Oh, wow.
So let's have a look at who it's directed by. It's a co-direction again. Byron Howard. He was the co-director of Bolt, Tangled, and Zootopia. And he's going to be directing it with Jared Bush, who hasn't... He was co-director on Zootopia as well. So it looks like they saw Zootopia make a billion quid and decided to go ahead with that. One thing I have just seen, which has caught my eye, it is going to be a musical, and the songs are going to be written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So,
yeah, I see that it's centered in Colombia. It's giving me real like Coco vibes, but it says centered on a young girl and her family in Colombia who all have magical powers. Sadly, the young girl has no powers. So,
the logo makes it look like quite Christmassy or wintry in a way.
Yeah,
I could see them with it being a mountain sort of theme. I could see if this is big. I could see them completely changing Expedition Everest, that Animal Kingdom, into something to do with that film already. Just looking at the logo, it looks quite similar to the Expedition Everest logo, Animal Kingdom. But now it's time to potentially piss off the people in the room. Our top 5 Disney animated classic films of all time. Now, the rules had to be out to 59 Disney animated classics, so no Pixar. One film I wanted to give a shout out to, wasn't in my top 5, was a Goofy movie. I was reliably informed that does not count as a Disney animated classic. What's the studio, John?
Yeah, it's like their Disney Toons division. So it was more like their TV brand. I guess we're making movies at the time, so it doesn't count as an actual Walt Disney animated studio film.
And another one I also wanted to potentially give a shout out to, which wouldn't count, The Nightmare Before Christmas, even though when you go to Disney World, The Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise fucking everywhere, especially if you go at Halloween or Christmas. So we'll go in descending order. I think most people in the room will share some of our lists. I think it's probably not. We shared our list with one another earlier. There's a few wild cards in there. Have you got any honorable mentions first?
Yeah, I mean, just to point out, this is not like what I would consider the top 5 best movies, but the top 5 that favorite. I loved. Yeah, my top 5 favorite movies. So for honorable mentions, I have Alice in Wonderland, which I think is still to this day one of the trippiest movies ever. The Great Mouse Detective, which I feel like doesn't get as much love as some of the other like 80s Disney movies. And I have Wreck-It Ralph as far as one of the newer movies. I actually loved Wreck-It Ralph. I thought the usage of like video game characters in it was great. My son, that's probably one of the first Disney movies that my son fell in love with. I saw Wreck-It Ralph about 100 times when that came out. So those are my honorable mentions. Do you have any?
Yeah, I've only got the 2 honorable mentions. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, the list. I want to shout out Hercules and Beauty and the Beast. Both of them, great music, part of the Disney Renaissance age, which is where quite a lot of my list comes from. But they're both great. They just didn't make the top 5. But yeah, you are right. Just want to specify, this isn't like the technically best 5. These are the ones that give you that Disney magic feeling, your favorite, the ones you put on when you're feeling a bit shit, or when it's a cold day, or when you want that Disney magic. Do you agree there is a bit of an intangible quality with Disney films that you don't get with studios like Blue Sky or DreamWorks?
Oh, absolutely. Just when the movie just starts, the tone that sets with like the opening castle scene and just like the jingle in the beginning and everything about it just, it feels different. And just me being to both Disney World and Disneyland plenty of times, I feel like you just fall in love with that whole Disney aspect of just the way they make movies. It's definitely different.
So number 5, who's going first? Go on, John. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is probably the only real recent one out of all these, and this is a movie that to this day I still love, and I love the music and everything about it. I love the actors and actresses in it. But Moana, I absolutely love Moana. I think it's a great movie. The story is wonderful, and just the music is great, and just the animation and the rock was great in this movie. The Moana character was great. But yeah, every time it's like I don't really sing along with songs, but when these songs come on in Moana, they get to me. Like I download the soundtrack and everything. So like
Yeah.
this is one of the movies I could definitely like sing along to this day. And it's still new, and it's still a movie that can relate to little girls and little boys. I feel like it's a really great movie overall. And we never saw like the whole Polynesian side, with the exception of Lilo and Stitch in a way. We never really saw it embraced like this in a Disney animated movie. So this is a movie that I wouldn't be surprised in like 5 to 10 years if they make like a live action version and put the Rock right back in it. And I think they have some like Polynesian resort in Disney World that's kind of modeled after Moana. So this is a movie that's gonna be a moneymaker for them for years to come.
I actually have Moana as my number 5 as well. It's my favorite of the new era of Disney movies. I agree. I think the songs are instantly iconic. I think the characters are. I think it gave me massive Little Mermaid vibes for a new era. The Rock performance was great. The animation was stunning. It was fantastic. I don't think there's anything more I can really say. Seeing it, we'll do it snake draft style. I bet we don't have the same number 4. I reckon not many people would have this on their top 5 Disney 5 film list. But my number 4 favorite Disney film is Oliver and Company. Yep, Oliver and Company, 1989. Billy fucking Joel, mate, is all I'm going to say about that as my justification. It's a musical. It's cats and dogs. It's Disney magic. It's basically sort of Oliver Twist, but told through cats and dogs singing the music written by Billy Joel or associated with Billy Joel. It's great shit. I bet no one else has that. It's a left field pick.
That was definitely like during the dark times of Disney, like the whole 80s. Yeah. I feel like there wasn't really much from them until like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast came out. That they kind of that was it. They ran to the tracks after that one. But yeah, Oliver and Company, there's not much I can say about the movie. I kind of want to rewatch it. Since Disney Plus came out, I had one to kind of rewatch every single animated movie in order, which is something that we kind of discussed. So if you guys want to hear us talk about all the Disney movies in order, we might actually do that if there's enough interest. But this is definitely one of the movies I want to
chicken with me there into doing that. So basically, John said a podcast series where we go through and watch them all in order from number 1 to Raya and the Last Dragon. If you want us to do that, all 59, Walt next, let us know. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? I guess. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that I'm pretty sure you don't have either. I know I saw Chris Elliott had it as number 4 on his list, and that is Dumbo, the original Dumbo.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is a great movie. That's one of those movies that's just like the story always gets to me. And I didn't hate the remake. The remake, I mean, it has its problems, but the key theme of it was still there. But the whole story about Dumbo and the way he was treated and just how he was an outcast and the fact that like the main character didn't speak also was kind of like interesting to me. Like I kind of enjoyed that. But I could and it's a really short movie too. I feel like I could throw on Dumbo and watch it, whatever. And just some music elements to it, but not that much. But I just love the whole circus theme and Dumbo and the story. Yeah, that gets me.
Yeah, when Walt had his sort of finger on the movies, had his touch on them, there was definitely, much more of an element of tragedy and sadness to them. Obviously, Bambi as well. There was a lot of parents dying is a big theme in Disney films, to be honest. We're going snake draft style. So what's your number 3?
My number 3, which I'm pretty sure is on your list and a lot of people's lists, this is Aladdin, the original 1991, 92 Aladdin. I think it's 92, everything about that movie. Like when that came out, that was like one of the first animated movies that I saw like CGI in. Like I'm pretty sure they probably used it in Beauty and the Beast, like in some elements, but this one was like really like CGI, where you had the actual like cave itself kind of engulf and the carpet ride and everything about it. And yeah, the music, Robin Williams as a genie, and just everybody. Oh, this music is just great. The colors, something about the colors to this movie, like really got to me. It has like a real like orange purple feel to it, and every time I watch it, like you could literally throw this movie on and I will never turn it off. Like this, I love Aladdin. The reboot remake, not as much. But the original one,
It was better than I
watched,
thought it would be.
I
went into
even
it
liked the
expecting shite, but
it had its problems, but it wasn't like overall bad. But yeah, I mean, I watched the sequels, I watched the TV show, I was the video games for Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. I loved Aladdin, and to this day, like I said, it's one of the first movies like I showed my son. I was like, you need to watch Aladdin and the other movies that I have on my list or movies that he had to watch.
I have thoughts on Aladdin, but spoiler, it is on my list. However, it's not my number three, but it's snake draft style, so I get to say my number two. So my number three is Tarzan, and my number two is Aladdin. Seeing as we're on the subject of Aladdin first, I'll talk about that. Everything about it is instantly iconic. Robin Williams is the genie. The big thing when it was being redone is you can't do the genie. Not even the technical aspects of it. How can anyone pull off Robin Williams' performance as the genie? It was a phenomenon. I remember watching it as a kid. I remember the very first time I watched it at home on video. I remember playing the soundtrack to death. The music in it is iconic. Obviously, it went on to make a Broadway adaptation as well. I mean, when you reach that level, you are talking, this is the S tier of Disney movies right here, Aladdin. You've got Oscar love. It was the highest grossing animated film of all time. When it came out, it was later eclipsed by something else, which I imagine we'll talk about. It was the last film by Disney to be entirely based on a fairy tale for years, because they probably thought they can't top it. It's absolutely incredible. And I had Tarzan at 3. Again, a bit of a left field choice, but I love the music. Phil Collins' soundtrack is incredible. I saw it at the right age. I was like 7 or 8 when it came out. Yeah, it was great. I loved it to death. I had the Game Boy game for it as well. I loved it. Running around fucking shut up as Tarzan. As much as you could on a Game Boy Color, fucking shut up. But I loved it. The soundtrack, the animation, everything to it. It had such vivid memories in my mind. Tarzan number 3. So yeah, Tarzan 3, Aladdin my number 2. What is your number 2?
Yeah, I mean, about Tarzan really quick, like I feel like it came out, there was a dark period I had with Disney movies where I feel like I was probably
this
too
was
cool.
The end of the Renaissance, I would say, Tarzan.
Yeah. So started from to me at least, started from Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Tarzan. I didn't really watch any of those movies till I was much older. So I feel like because of that, yeah, I liked the movies, but I didn't have any personal connections as I would anything from 95 and before. Like those movies I literally would watch on loop every day. So even though I appreciated Tarzan, I just didn't have that connection with it. A movie that I do have a connection with, which is my number 2, is Pinocchio. Because me living in Italy, I literally, this is probably the first Disney movie I probably ever saw was Pinocchio. And literally It was a book that my grandfather would read to me. He literally would tell me the Pinocchio story before I even saw the movie. So when I found out there was an animated movie to it, I loved it. Everything about the movie, Jiminy Cricket's character and the music, the whole Wish Upon a Star was actually from this. But yeah, and the movie was so scary, and even back then they were smoking cigarettes, and they're everything about it was to watch it now is really crazy. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Pinocchio. My next cat I want to get is Jiminy Cricket on my back as my conscience. I love Pinocchio, and I cannot wait.
Disney.
I honestly cannot wait for this remake with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton. The cast sounds amazing for this. They showed a teaser for it at the last Disney conference.
You trust them?
Wait. I do. For this, I do, honestly. Dumbo had its problems, but I feel like Pinocchio is really hard to mess up. But yeah, I love Pinocchio.
Yeah,
let's go.
It is so
yours.
iconic. My number 2 was Aladdin. We talked about it, and I'd say my number 3 was Tarzan. And as I'm sure everyone probably would have guessed, we sort of hinted at it. We've got the same number 1. Should we say it on 3? 1, 2, 3. The Lion King.
Lion King.
I mean, it's the best. It's just objectively, it's just the fucking best, isn't it?
It's a perfect movie. The way the movie starts with just the music and just the sunset and oh my god, everything about this movie is
from the day we arrived on the planet. The chills. Absolutely.
were talking about James Earl Jones earlier, and I feel like he probably got the role of Mufasa from Coming to America because he was a king in that movie, and he's a king in this one. And just everything about this is great. The comedy, Timon and Pumbaa. You got Rafiki's character. The music is amazing. The animation, it was like groundbreaking when it first came out.
Don't forget James Earl Jones was Darth Vader as well. James Earl Jones is the man.
That's true.
But everything about The Lion King is just the animation is beautiful, the colors, the vibrancy, the music, again, it's iconic. It transcended being an animated movie. It was the highest grossing movie of all time, I believe, for a while. It changed quite a bit until Titanic took the reins for quite a while, but up until that point, I believe it was The Lion King. That's why the remake of it was so hyped, because The Lion King is just it seems in that sort of untouchable realm where no one really has a bad word to say about The Lion King. And if you do, you'd sort of be made out to be a bit of a pariah. Like, what's your problem? Like, are you just arguing for arguing's sake to be different?
Yeah, Scar is probably the best villain in Disney movies to me ever. And just that whole scene, I'm sure everybody in here have seen The Lion King, but if you haven't, there's a death scene, and that still gets me to this day. That's probably the first time my son ever even knew about the aspect of death was through this, when he actually turned around and asked me, like, what happened to Simba's dad? And I'm just like I couldn't explain it to him. It was this movie.
I'm not laughing at Simba's dad died, by the way. I'm laughing at Bobby in the chat. Simba's dad dying was a horrible time. Yeah. There's so much.
Yeah, it's...
what's your favorite song from the film?
My favorite song?
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough. Come on, there's only one answer. Just Can't Wait to Be King.
Just Can't Wait to Be King. I love Be Prepared, though. I love Be Prepared. I love Hakuna Matata. Like, I think Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I feel like every song in this movie is amazing. To this day, whenever I hear that, I just pick something up, pick my son up, and just lift him up. Like, every song in this movie is just like amazing.
Every time I see a cat as well, up they go.
Yeah, there's a lot of Disney movies where like I hear a song and it's like, I can skip this, but this I'll never skip any song from this movie.
Wow, Chris Leone is I Just Can't Wait to Be King even top 3 in this movie. Wow, talk about getting yourself a timeout on the chat. Bobby does bring up a point. They did take the plot of Hamlet. However, as we've established, Disney do take the plots of sort of public domain stories and adapt them.
I think all the Lion King
visuals of a Japanese film called Kimba the White Lion.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics on that, but I'm sure they changed it up enough. Disney got the lawyers.
Yeah, I think all the Lion King properties are pretty much based off of different Shakespeare's plays, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm kind of looking. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hate the remake. Like, it wasn't like anything like the original, but I'm kind of looking forward to how they're gonna do this whole prequel sequel. That's kind of interesting. We never actually got to see Mufasa's story, so it should be kind of interesting.
No, and as I say, Barry Jenkins directing. He did Moonlight. If Beale Street Could Talk, like, this is going to be big. I'm very excited for this. Well, that pretty much wraps us up and just in time for SmackDown. Next week, that's it for MCU break. We're back to it. Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1. We're also going to be reviewing the movie Cherry, which has been out in theaters in the US for a couple of weeks. It just dropped on Apple TV Plus worldwide today. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, I think it is quite easy to get a trial. I upgraded my phone and managed to get 3 different offers from Apple to have a look into it. If not, there are always other means of watching it. However, it's pretty easy to get a free trial, I think. We're going to be reviewing that. There's a bit of a connection there. Russo brothers directing, and we've got back to the Captain America universe with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Russo's directed Endgame, Infinity War, Winter Soldier, Civil War. Do you want to plug your Twitter? Anything else? You've got Shot in the Dark, Mr. Shot in the... I know we're just about talking to wrestling, so we'll let a little bit out now. Yeah,
Shot in the Dark every Wednesday. I mean, you guys probably know by now. If you guys want some extra bonus homework, check out the 1993 horror classic, because I will be talking about that movie with Braden and Davey next week. So check that movie out as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. If you guys want this Disney podcast series, if there's any we even like flirted with the idea of possibly doing some Disney watch-alongs or sing-alongs. So look forward to that poll that we might have up later. I'm not sure which movie we're gonna pick, but if you guys want to watch along Disney with us, that'd be a little bit different than watching wrestling. But I've always wanted the reason to go back and watch these Disney movies, and I feel like doing something like this will at least give me an excuse to go back and watch each one in order.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm looking forward to some of them, not others, but we'll see how we go with that. But thanks everyone for joining us this week. We will be back again at MCU next week. I have nothing to plug, just my Twitter down here, Hogan Bay, and then you've got John's up there, See No Evil. Follow us both. Davey's joining us. Sentiment. We've got SmackDown and probably a weird viewers' choice poll. A Disney film will be one of the choices. We
which
promise
one?
you. But which one? And maybe a Nitro. Who knows? We'll throw it out there. But we'll be back in a couple of minutes with SmackDown. Thanks. Bye. Love you. Bye.